Welcome into the Players Club. It is week 7 of the college football season. Jim Dunaway along with Lance Taylor of the Next Round and Mick Gillespie from Bama Insider and the fine folks at On3 Sports as we work our way towards these 5 big games we're going to play for you. And it's brought to you by our friends at the Sportsbook at Timeout Lounge over at the Golden Moon Hotel and Casino in Philadelphia, Mississippi. And Mick, you're familiar with this place, such a short drive from here in Birmingham.
Yeah, it's the time of year to go, too. I got to gather you guys up. We'll get Rockstar, all of us will just get in the car and head over. But you're talking about 5 kiosks and 10 VIP terminals and 3 retail stations. You got all the games on the TV. So, I mean, it'd be like taking this and adding 18 to it. And all the networks, you know, whether you want to watch college football, baseball, you know, MLB with the playoffs right now, the U.S. Open, the Live Tour, they would have that as well. Anything worldwide. You know, so maybe you want to watch women's basketball and, you know, Siberia. You know, they'd have that too.
Yes.
NASCAR and all that stuff there. So it's a great time of year to do it. It's a lot of fun. And I learned that betting NASCAR is enjoyable.
Yeah, you have a good time with that. If you bet $50 or more, you get to play Dancing Rabbit, the golf course over there, just for $30 a round. So $50 you bet, you get a round of golf for $30. It's a Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino where it's time to play the game. Our number one game we're going to play here in the Players Club is the 11 a.m. ESPN game, Auburn at Ole Miss. I threw out this stat to Stan White on our show The Next Round, but since Auburn beat Ole Miss last year at Jordan-Hare Stadium, Ole Miss is 10-1, Auburn is 3-8. Lance, we'll start with you.
Yeah, they are trending in the wrong direction. I think everybody knows that. Ole Miss 6-0 for the first time or the second time in the last 60 years. So Lane Kiffin's got them in a good spot right now. You know, the good news for Auburn is you lead the all-time series 35-11. You've won 6 straight, but the bad news is the last 4 games you haven't scored more than 17 points. And you look at Ole Miss, not only are they getting it done defensively, Jackson Dart's coming off a career-high 448 yards. I know it was against Vanderbilt. Jonathan Mingo, school record, 247 yards receiving. You've got Judkins. You've got Evans. I mean, you've got a balanced offense now. Ole Miss laying 14.5 seems like value to me. It's an 11 o'clock game. I won't touch it, but I'm going to lean Ole Miss right now.
What about you, Mick?
Yeah, look, it's hard to go against Ole Miss. I mean, even though they struggled in the first half against Vanderbilt, they ended up blowing them out 52-28. And what I noticed in that game was that Lane Kiffin's going to run the score up on you if he can. I mean, he's going to try to get that spread. And Auburn just feels like a sinking ship. I wouldn't call it the Titanic, but it definitely feels like there's a few holes and they're trying to get the water out. I got to give them credit, though. I mean, they fought really hard against Georgia, you know, and
still lost by 32.
And still lost by, yeah, right. And still lost by 32. So, you know, I'm going to take Ole Miss in this game. I don't know that I don't know if I would really play this. I mean, I'm not so comfortable with this matchup. Ole Miss is going to be without their tight end. You know, that's a big loss for them. But at the same time, you know, it's just like you said, it's like 2 programs going in an opposite direction. Ole Miss has an opportunity, if Alabama loses to Tennessee, to put themselves in position to go to their first ever conference championship game. And I think they may be the second best team right now, at least in the West. So I'd take them.
So Ole Miss across the board. This is the Players Club. Don't forget lanceslock.com where you can get all of Lance's play there. You can listen to Mick every day. How do you find your show, Mick? Where's the easiest way to find it?
Yeah, go to YouTube. Just like you guys on the Next Round on the Bama Insider YouTube channel, on there all the time. Jay Barker and I get together on Tuesday and Thursday. I do a show on Monday Night QB. And then my baby's the Tailgate Show, our Alabama preview show that comes on YouTube on Friday from 6 to 8. And then it plays on radio across the state on Saturday. And then Jay and I back together again after the game with our post-game show.
With the post-game show there.
Yep.
So look for Mick there. Speaking of Bama, Alabama, Tennessee's the second game we'll play in Knoxville. Well documented here, LT. 15 straight wins for Alabama. But in this game, something's got to give. You've got a team that gets the ball out quickly. With Tennessee, they're one of the nation's best at lack of pressure on the quarterback. And here comes Alabama, a top 6 team at pressuring the quarterback.
Look, Alabama's good on offense and defense. I mean, typical Alabama team. They struggled last week, you know, with the 4 turnovers, a couple of missed field goals. This is a different Tennessee team altogether, though. They've scored on 62% of their drives this year. They're getting it done fast. They're the 5th quickest tempo in college football. They average a play about every 21 seconds. Only 2 teams in college football haven't trailed in the second half the entire year, Tennessee and Michigan. And Hendon Hooker's just not turning the football over. He's playing great, intelligent football. But you said it, 15 straight wins for Alabama, 13 of those by 14 or more. I think you're getting a lot of value. The numbers dipped down to 7. It seems like the public's all over Tennessee. You know, it comes down, is Bryce Young going to play or not? Jalen Milroe looked a little anxious last game, looked a little out of sorts. Some inexcusable turnovers that you wouldn't see with Bryce Young. I think they would have won that game going away. So I'm playing this as if Bryce is playing, and I think Alabama wins this game by, double digits, 10-14, maybe even 17 points. I like Bama minus the 7.
So -7 Alabama at Tennessee. Pace of play, the question about Bryce, can Alabama's receivers get separation against a Tennessee secondary that's been a little lackluster to say the least? How do you like Alabama, Tennessee?
Yeah, these are 2 teams I pay close attention to. I work in Knoxville, for the Smokies baseball team, and then, obviously being an Alabama guy, so I watch all these games. I think Tennessee's offense is dynamic, right? Jabari Small's so good running the ball. Tennessee's offensive line's been better than I thought they would be. The quarterback, Hendon Hooker, would be my Heisman Trophy #1 guy. I mean, I'd vote for him if I had a vote today, right? And I know there's other guys out there, but you take him off this team, and they're not that good. They're okay. He makes them really good. They're 4-1 this year against the number. Bama's 4-2, though, this year against the spread. The problem that I have with Tennessee, and I am playing this game, as a matter of fact, as soon as I get to Tennessee, I'm getting on the app to put money down on it, is Tennessee's defense. They're 87th, right? They give up almost 400 yards per contest. They're going to score points, but Alabama's going to score points too. I mean, they have a top 10 offense. They're really good on offense as well. And I know that Bryce Young's going to play. Now, how effectively that's going to be, I don't know. But even if Jalen Milroe was the quarterback this week, I'd still feel comfortable with Alabama. And this number to me is way too low. What happens is we have the overreactions, right? Last week, Brian Kelly kept going for it on 4th. Tennessee won the game. They played well, but that score's inflated. Alabama destroyed, statistically, Texas A&M, but they turned the ball over 4 times. The other thing is that Alabama's only gotten 3 turnovers this year. That, to me, is an anomaly. They're going to get more turnovers. Their defense is too good, right? So I'm taking Alabama. I think the number, like Lance, I'm totally with you. I think the number should probably be 14 or 15, but it's 7, and so I like that value a lot.
Yeah, I would have listed it at 8, just where the 2 teams were coming off the week. But you talked about scoring. I also like the over 65.5. I think there would be a lot of points.
7 point game is about where I see this game going. 7's a point spread. I would take Tennessee in the 7 points, a low number for a reason. I'll take the Vols in this one, 37-31, that kind of game. This is the Players Club, and it's brought to you by our friends at the Sportsbook at the Golden Moon Casino over there. It's the Sportsbook at the Timeout Lounge, where you can enjoy Vegas-style sports betting all day on a Saturday and Sunday. And if you bet $50 before March Madness, you will get a round at the Dancing Rabbit Golf Course for only $30. It's a great deal. That's a Players Club deal for you right there at the Sportsbook at the Golden Moon Casino, where you can play the game. Our third one is also in the 2:30 window on ABC. It is Oklahoma State at TCU. Really good matchup of 2 really talented quarterbacks here. TCU giving 4 to Oklahoma State, who's sort of been a bright light in the conference the last 2 years. What's wrong with the Cowboys in this game? Why would the Cowboys lose this game like Vegas is saying they like TCU?
Well, TCU's become that sexy team, and offensively, they've become what is viewed as kind of a juggernaut offensively. Look, as you mentioned, 2 really good quarterbacks, two veteran quarterbacks in Max Duggan, second nationally in passing efficiency, 14 touchdowns, only 1 pick. On the other side, Spencer Sanders has 18 touchdowns this season, leads the Big 12, 1 ahead of Duggan. So both quarterbacks are getting it done. Oklahoma State was so close to a college football playoff last year, 1 yard away. Oklahoma State 9-1-1 against the number in Big 12 play since the start of last season. That's the best cover percentage in the Big 12. I've got to take the points here. Gundy's 3-2 straight up as between a 3.5 point dog and a 3.5 point favorite. I know this number's ticked up to 4. I think it will tick back down and opened at 2. I like Oklahoma State here. I think they're the better overall team. TCU might be better offensively, but I think Oklahoma State's got the better defense.
Mick, I like Oklahoma State too. I think Spencer Sanders is really good at quarterback, and I just don't believe TCU and Sonny Dykes in his first year can keep winning games against this kind of opponent.
Yeah, how about him going from their arch rival over there and then turning them into like a legitimate contender? I thought that they would lay the smackdown on Kansas last week, but they did win the football game, right? I guess that was the push, and I had it at 7. But Oklahoma State, I'm growing my hair out for Halloween because I want to put it into a mullet, and that's why I've got to go with Oklahoma State. I mean,
Are you going as John Wick?
No, I'm going to go as Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, you got a little bit of Morgan Wallen.
I'm going
in
to
you.
try it anyway, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's, don't tell anybody at the Floribama because that's where I'm going.
If you grow out the hair and lose a little bit more on top, you can go as Dana Holgerson. I got him more as Dana Holgerson than I did Morgan Wallen.
I'm going to be a very old Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, you are.
But I have to die. I probably have to die the sides. No, look, the truth of the matter is that Oklahoma State was a play away from being in the college football playoff last year, and TCU's legitimate, man. I mean, this is another game that in my personal life I wouldn't play. I looked at it. I'm like, okay, Oklahoma State's 3-2 against the spread. TCU's undefeated against the spread. 4-0-1, had that push last week. Oklahoma State's games always seem to go over, right? The 4 out of 5. I like the over in this game. It's going to be a ton of points. That's because Oklahoma State's offense is great, third best in scoring, and TCU's right there with them. But if I had to pick a team, and the only reason I would take Oklahoma State is because I really feel like this is about an even matchup. Give me the 3.5 points. It's going to come down to a play or two. And the way that they went into Baylor and just, beat the Bears around like that, I was impressed. Oklahoma State's defense isn't great, 104, but I just don't think that it's going to matter. I think they're just going to outscore TCU, and it's going to look a lot like what we saw last week. Max Duggan's probably going to make a bunch of plays, but at the end of the day, I just feel like Oklahoma State might be one of those teams that takes the spot I had put aside for Baylor, and they make the college football playoff.
All right, so we're all on Oklahoma State there. Florida giving 2.5 as they play host to LSU at the Swamp. Mick, I'll start with you. How does Brian Kelly and company pick up the pieces after that disappointing 11 a.m. game last week? Yeah,
I mean, people after the LSU-Florida State game were like, God, this guy, Brian Kelly, is coaching. And I thought, look, they were an extra point away from, doing something. Wow, that was the worst coaching I think I've ever seen last week. I mean, go for it on 4th down and keep missing. I mean, basically they turned that game into a blowout, and maybe that's because Brian Kelly realizes that his team's not that good and that they needed to steal. They didn't want to give the ball back to Tennessee because they couldn't stop them. Anthony Richardson had 453 yards and 2 touchdowns against Tennessee this year, right? They lost, but he played a good game. LSU just doesn't have anybody that can do that. Jaden Daniels is okay. I think he's banged up. I don't know, but their offense looks anemic. And Florida's at home. Look, this is a pillow fight to me. Both of these teams have flaws, but I'm going to take the Gators. And the other reason is this: is that don't forget that Florida's coach probably should be LSU's coach, but you have all that internal LSU, Louisiana politics, and they overlooked him. So I think Billy's going to be wired up for this one as well. He wants to beat LSU.
Yeah, what about you?
Inconsistent quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson at his best. I like Florida. Jaden Daniels has been a little more steady. I don't like either offense, to be honest with you. LSU's defense had played really well up until last week against Tennessee, but a lot of short fields. They turned it over multiple times. They were -2 in turnovers. They got stopped on 4th down multiple times. I've just got a feeling that LSU bounces back. And I'll take LSU plus 2.5. They've won 3 straight in this series. Florida does lead the all-time series 33-32-3. Very tight series, but I'll take LSU. I'll take the road dog, live dog here.
Live dog for LT there on the Players Club. One more game to go with USC at Utah, a big one in the Pac-12. But one more time, I want to tell you about the Golden Moon Hotel and Casino in Philadelphia, Mississippi, just a short 2-hour drive from where we sit in Birmingham, just over an hour from Tuscaloosa or Jackson, Mississippi there. The Sportsbook at Timeout Lounge offers Vegas-style sports booking there on your traditional sports betting, and you can watch games from all over the world and all sports right there in this beautiful beautiful Vegas-style sports book and casino. March Madness bet right now. If you bet $50 from now until March Madness, $50 and $50 bet or more, you get a round at Dancing Rabbit Golf Course on the property there for just $30. It's a beautiful course. The sports book at the Golden Moon Casino where you play the game. USC at Utah. Utah giving 3.5 in this contest to the Trojans, who are unbeaten. They've got playoff hopes alive in Troy. Them and UCLA are back in the Pac-12 just in time to leave to go to the Big Ten. Why do you like or dislike USC in this game?
Well, look, I'd love to see USC be able to win this game and go to 7-0. They're a top 10 team now under Lincoln Riley. Nobody expected this, but when you watch USC, they give up a lot of yards, but they're opportunistic. They turn the football over, or they force the turnovers, I should say. They're first in turnover margin right now, plus 15. So I think it's a little misleading where USC sits. Caleb Williams is really good. Travis Dye has been really good. We're talking about all portal guys. Mario Williams, Addison. They've got the offense, and the offense has played really well. I just don't trust the defense. Of course, Zach Charbonnet, I had UCLA last week. He goes for a career-high 198 against this Utah defense. I think they get it together, though, against USC, and I think Utah scores a lot of points on this USC defense. Cameron Rising plays clean football, and Rice Eccles is one of those tricky places to play. USC, outside of 2020 where there was no crowd, last time they won in front of a crowd at Rice Eccles back in 2012. So tough place for them to play. I like Utah minus the 3.5.
It's been like a bad Cam Rising a couple of times late in games with an uncharacteristic late interception in both of their losses, including the one down in Florida to lose the opener. Where are you going in this game? Utah at home giving points or USC?
Yeah, everything tells me to take Utah, right? They're at home. They've had some bad luck this year, and the conference is a little bit better than I thought. UCLA is a pretty good team. That was a good game. They lost that game to Florida. And USC isn't quite there yet, but kind of like the first year when Nick Saban was at Alabama, you see the progress every week.
Yep.
With that said, there's times in these games when I stay up and watch them where I watch USC, and it's not always that easy, but they just seem to always find a way, right? The number to me is 200, right? They got to get 200 yards on the ground. If they can do that, they're going to win the football game. I just don't know if they're going to be able to supply that. The atmosphere is going to be really tough in Utah. But 3.5 isn't a whole lot of points. Maybe this is one of USC's seasons where they've got everything going their way. I think it is their season, but I think Utah is going to catch some breaks for the first time against a good team, and I agree with LT. I'm thinking Utah is going to probably win this game by a touchdown.
Yeah, interesting numbers here, Dunaway. USC 3-12 against the number as a road dog since 2015. Horrible in this spot. And on the other side, Utah 11-2 against the number in October since 2018. So, if you're playing trends and or angles, it definitely screams Utah.
The Players Club recap here. All of us like Ole Miss and give the points against Auburn. These two like Alabama giving the points. I'll take Tennessee in that game to get inside the number. We all like Oklahoma State getting points in Fort Worth against TCU. Mick and I like Florida at the Swamp. LT will take LSU. And then these two like Utah, and I'll take USC on the road to stay unbeaten and keep the playoff dreams alive. That's our Week 7 Players Club, brought to you by the Sportsbook at the Golden Moon Casino, where you can play the game right now, a short drive from wherever you're watching us. And we'll see you next week for Week 8 of the Players Club.